I think the golden age of the crypto VC was 2016 to 2021. And the golden age of crypto VC is over. In order to build a cult, you need to make poor people rich. That's where cults come from. By making poor people rich. And
this is all about crypto, right? Because crypto got very popular because like very poor people became rich, right?
Exactly.
But I have to question you about that. Like, why should people not think that your meme coin theory thesis is just a way to promote your own holdings?
Zoomers and millennials, they know that they are fucked, pretty much, right? Excuse my French,
I mean,
but this is what's going on.
It's hard to buy a house. You have to...
Exactly.
When it comes to your portfolio, like how are your investments allocated? Are they fully into meme coins? Are you also invested in other categories in crypto or outside of crypto? Like how do you manage your money best? Hello à tous équipes, j'espère que vous allez bien. Aujourd'hui on se trouve pour une nouvelle interview et cette fois-ci une interview un petit peu particulière parce que j'ai le plaisir de recevoir Mourad. Donc peut-être que certains le connaissent sous le nom de Mustap Mourad sur Twitter. Et il a eu justement l'occasion d'exprimer une thèse sur les meme coins qui a fait énormément de bruit, notamment à Token 2049. Et je me suis dit que ce serait une bonne idée de le challenger et de lui poser pas mal de questions sur les meme coins, qui est un sujet que je connais moins et sur lequel il a évidemment plus d'expertise. Et évidemment, je compte sur vous en commentaire et en réponse pour le challenger et voir tout simplement ce que vous pensez de sa thèse. Hello Mourad, how is it going?
Hey man, thank you for having me and pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you very much for participating. One of your friends, I think, or member on Discord, Primitive Astronaut, kind of linked us together. And I'm very glad he did it because I think we have like a lot of very interesting topics to mention. To be honest, I've seen your name quite recently. But I've been doing my research and it seems that you have like a very interesting background. To be honest, I wasn't sure about what I should expect from someone like you, very dedicated to meme coins and everything. You're like an alien, you know, in the industry. You have like an approach that is very different, but since it's different, it's very interesting. And I'm here to kind of like challenge you and understand like, why meme coins matters. Especially for the French-speaking community, which is involved in a lot of meme coins, but some of them don't really understand what's going on. So I think this is a great occasion to speak about it. So maybe to start, can you introduce yourself and explain where do you come from, what you were doing before? Because yeah, people knows Mustap Mourad on Twitter, but not much about you behind the scene.
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Murad. I'm originally from Azerbaijan. Went to study at university in the United States. While there, I was doing a year abroad in China, and that coincided with the 2013 bubble in BTC when it first hit $1,000. Was kind of very lucky to be at the right place at the right time. Had a foreign friend who was, I think, employee number 4 at what is currently one of the biggest centralized exchanges. And he kind of introduced me to BTC, bought a few coins back then, but didn't do much with crypto until 2017, when I started taking crypto much more seriously. In the meantime, I worked in TradFi in Hong Kong and in commodities trading in Singapore. But 2017 onwards, kind of been doing a bunch of different things in crypto full time, trading, investing, kind of analysis, writing, asset management. Recently have been building a DeFi protocol, but also on the personal side, obviously, as you may know, involved in meme coins, investing in them, trying to identify winners, trying to predict what's going to happen in 2025, things of that nature.
Interesting. You mentioned that you were kind of lucky to meet your friend. I think you mentioned it like in a few podcasts that you met your friend when you were in China in 2013 and everything. Like, how did you meet this guy? Because this guy probably got you into crypto and maybe helped you to think about Bitcoin and how important it is and maybe changed your life in many ways. So yeah, what happened?
Yeah, so I was literally the very first day that I came to Beijing. I was in part of town where all of the universities were, right? And I Googled where do all the foreigners hang out? And so there was like, one of those like Time Out Beijing articles or whatever. And it gave you like a list of 10 like bars or cafes where like the foreign students will hang out. And I literally went to the number 1 on that list. And it was like it was like 60% foreigners, 40% Chinese. And I kind of just, it's quite easy for guys to make friends. And I saw these like four guys. Later turned out two of them were American, two of them were British. And I just came up to them, started talking to them, and he was one of those guys.
Interesting. I mean, this day probably changed your life in many manners. You mentioned also that you were working in TradFi. Did you learn anything interesting that is like useful today for you? Or did you kind of like put it everything you learned to trash and had to reset mentally to get into meme coins, for example?
To be honest, I think I've learned more just being in crypto itself, like reading all of the materials in crypto, being on crypto Twitter all day long. But I would say a lot of the trading and investing and macro kind of geopolitical knowledge, you definitely learn a lot of that working in TradFi as well. But I think like only doing it for a year or two is enough. And I think after that, the learning curve kind of flattens. So I think crypto in the context of 2017, especially, it was so much newer, and the passion around something new is always greater. So I could clearly see that that's like where the world is heading, and I had to just like join that wave.
Okay, and I was wondering, like, how are you doing among this craze around meme coins? Like, did it change your life positively? Or in a negative manner? Like, how is your life going, to be honest? Because you had like such, I would say, an audience, a large audience at the same time getting some interest into you lately. I'm not sure about what happened before, but like, how was it for you? And is it not too crazy to handle? And is it fine? Like, is it positive for you?
Overall? Yeah. So, it can definitely be a bit overwhelming sometimes just because there's been an influx of attention, followers, likes, etc. But, I think I am prepared for this. I'm going to tell you the same thing I've been telling my friends for the past couple of months. We need to treat this as a marathon and not a sprint. I still think the best meme coins, they still have 100x to go, which coincidentally means that we probably are going to see continued meme coin outperformance in 2025. And I'm just trying to be as stoic, humble as I can, and try to kind of take it day by day.
I think this is very important because like a lot of people get like a large audience from like a day to another one, and then starts to become like some very egocentric people that are not humble at all. And that starts to have some bias or like start to have some drama on Twitter and everything. It seems that is not your case. So congratulations for that.
Thank you. I think the more insecure someone is before fame or money or anything like that, the more likely they are to become egocentric, like you say, once these things come. But I think if you're comfortable even before the fame and are peaceful and leading a good balanced life, then regardless of the fame or money that comes, you're just going to stay the same person. And I'm just trying to take it with grace, you know?
And have you been able to do like things that you were not being able to do before without like the fame or like the audience you have now? Like, have you been able to achieve some things that are very that matters to you because of this fame, or like it's just something extra?
Yeah, it's just something extra. My life didn't really change in any way.
Okay. And I was wondering, like, why are you involved into crypto? What drives you to work on your thesis and STFX? Is it about like financial success? Is it about like personal achievements or something else? Like, what drives you the most to work?
Yeah, actively? honestly, I would say 60% financial success and 40% that I just like what this industry is doing for the world, democratizing finance, democratizing money, democratizing access to credit. And I think this is inevitably where the world is going, regardless whether you like it or not. So when you're trying to plan the future of your life, you want to sort of skate where the puck is going rather than just be reactive, you know? And obviously, crypto is going to be one of the 5-6 technologies that are going to change everything in the world. And I still think it has so much more to grow. Like, I still think Bitcoin is going to become the #1 money in the world. I still think it's going to become bigger than gold. I think it's going to become bigger than any currency. And as Bitcoin grows, so will grow the other parts of the crypto industry. DeFi, memes, AI, all these other things are going to grow. So I still think compared to Web 2, this industry still has like 100x, 200x to go as a whole, which means that it's still it's still in its exciting growth phase. And it's always much more exciting to be in the middle of growth rather than be in stagnation, so.
Yeah. Cette vidéo vous est présentée en partenariat avec DYDX. DYDX est LA solution décentralisée qui vous permet de trader les principales crypto-monnaies de manière liquide sur mobile et ordinateur. Contrairement à la majorité des exchanges, vous n'avez pas besoin de vous KYC et vous récupérez la majorité des frais que vous payez. Plus de 60 000 personnes utilisent déjà DYDX et j'en fais partie, alors qu'attendez-vous? Scannez le QR code sur votre écran ou utilisez le lien dans la description pour créer votre compte avec un simple wallet et profitez de 5% de réduction sur vos frais. Allez, on repart sur l'interview. And I think you mentioned quite often that Bitcoin is above everything when it comes to crypto. Why do you think that? I think you also created like a hedge fund like for a few years, like in 2019, to focus on Bitcoin and everything. So what should we care about meme coins when we have like Bitcoin? And do you think that like people entering the market with meme coins, like it could be a tough thing or a bad thing for most people? Because, it's kind of the duality of a man when I see you. It's like Bitcoin is crazy. It's incredible. It's changing so many things. And at the same time, you get like, oh, maybe we should get some interest into meme coins. So how do you balance that? How do you explain that?
Yeah. Can you share screen? I think there's a really good infographic that I can share that really, perfectly answers that question.
Okay.
So if you can share my Twitter, I think 6 or 7 tweets ago, I tweeted a picture which perfectly answers that in like a geometric format, I would say. Okay, perfect. I'll check that after the interview to do the edits. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So essentially, this is how I see the crypto industry evolving, right? I think we're going to have 4 asset classes, right? We're going to have BTC, which I believe is going to be the neo gold, right? And I think to some extent, you can argue maybe Ethereum and Solana might have some monetary properties as well. We will see in the future, right? But that's like one category. Second category, stablecoins, pretty boring, just fiat on chain, right? Yeah. And this leaves you with the other 2 categories. One is going to be what I call cash flow coins. And this is serious altcoins that are making serious revenue, and that eventually, once regulations clear up, these are going to be distributing on-chain profits, on-chain revenues to the stakeholders, right?
So and revenue sharing.
Yes, exactly. And the fourth is meme coins. Some people think they are vessels of belief. Some people think they are tokenized communities. Some people think they are vessels of dissatisfaction. They are tokenized messages, tokenized statements, whatever you want to call them. But that's category number 4, right? Okay. And the thing is, and this is what you need to understand, number 1, every single altcoin that has ever existed, especially one that's not making giant revenues, it has been a meme coin all along. All of these altcoins, they've all been meme coins.
Governance is a meme, right?
No one cares. No one cares about that. No one values that. It has always been about memetics, speculation, and community. That's the only things that have ever mattered in crypto. Even if you look, this is why I talk about cults, by the way. When I say cults, it simply means very, very, very strong community, right? And even before this meme coin cycle, if you look at Link, Chainlink, if you look at Cardano, ADA, if you look at Ripple, XRP, the reason why they went to high valuations in the previous cycles, it was not because of technology. It was because they had extremely passionate communities that were doing crazy things online, crazy things offline. They were getting their grandma to buy. They were getting their soccer moms to buy. And that's really all that ever mattered, right? Yeah. And if you accept the fact that it was never about technology, but it was rather about community and speculation and memes, then you realize why pure memes are winning this cycle. Because they strip off all of the technological stuff, they strip off all of the KPIs, they strip off all of the fake tech narratives, and they just focus hardcore on the memetics, on the speculation, and on the community, right? And this is essentially why pure memes are winning. A big part of this is also, in 2017, which I would argue is when altcoins first became popular in the world, right? You had like a random retail person on chain had a chance to buy Link at $30 million. You could buy Binance Coin at $25 million, right? Even Ethereum. On the
ICO, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Even Ethereum in 2015, I believe, you could buy it for like 35 million, which is crazy numbers, right? And the problem is that a lot of these gains, they became privatized, and now things launch on Binance at $5 billion, $10 billion valuation. Obviously, the thing about communities, the thing about cults is in order to build a cult, you need to make poor people rich. That's where cults come from, by making poor people rich.
And this is all about crypto, right? Because crypto got very popular because like very poor people became rich, right?
Exactly. And Link, it became a cult because it allowed that to happen. Cardano allowed that to happen. Ethereum allowed that to happen. XRP, even you could argue, allowed that to happen because there were buyers in 2013, 2014, whenever that was, that bought cheap, right? And so the community comes when there's positive vibes over 1 or 2 cycles, when the community is there for the whole journey together, getting wealthier. And that is fair, right? But when you launch something liquid at 10 billion, the community, like retail, they're just going to get poorer, right? They're just going to get poorer. It's extractive, right? Everybody knows this now. And the issue is that the altcoin game has been completely monopolized by this sort of supply chain of tech founders, VCs, market makers, etc., right? And this is the biggest reason why people have been shifting to memes, because memes are essentially ICOs 2.0. And again, you can run this whole journey together, fair, transparent, organic, bottom up, and you can participate in organic price discovery within the context of our one bull cycle in a fair bottom up way. And this is the biggest reason why meme coins are rising right now.
And so this is very interesting, to be honest, because I've been like a retail I'm still a retail. I've been doing like liquid investments. I've been doing early stage. So I kind of like, I've seen like a lot of things. And I was wondering, like, in your opinion, what's the mistake here? Like, how did you, how did we arrive to a situation in which we have like low float, high FDV, and $1 billion tokens that are not worth like a lot of things, or at least that came from zero, went to pre-seed and seed, Series A, and then to be on the open market? Is it like, because I think you've been very critical with VCs, and I do 100% understand it, but is it not like also the fault of the founders and the exchanges? Because it seems that VCs are described as evil, but founders are also deciding of the valuations, and exchanges are also incentivized to have like very high valuations. So I think this is not very right to only be critical about VCs. It's right to be critical about founders, VCs, exchanges, market makers, everyone at the same time. Although otherwise it doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I never single-handedly point at VCs only. I always point out the whole supply chain, tech founders, VCs, angels, exchanges, market makers, but also the Twitter KOLs, YouTubers, Telegram callers. They're all a part of this supply chain of attention, right? And people are realizing what's going on here. Smart retail realizing, they're getting tired of it. And essentially, here's the thing. If these tokens, my belief is that it was never about the software. It was never about the product. It was always about the token. The token is the product. And so if the token is the product and the token is just a table in the casino, let's call it that way, then young people around the world are realizing, if all of this is on chain, on decentralized rails, why should we be buying VC bags at 20 billion, which have no users, by the way, no users, no revenue, nothing. When we can create our own tokens with our own community, with our own story and structure and memetics and everything. And this is a clear transition right now. By the way, and this is the most important thing, just because we had 8 months of meme outperformance doesn't mean it's going to continue happening in 2025. Why? Because altcoins right now, they're roughly 1 trillion, right? But if you look at memes, they're 50 billion. But if you actually look at only the new memes, and by the way, I would even take Doge and SHIB out of the equation, because if you study cycles, then the new stuff, like the winners of the new stuff is always does better than the old stuff. So if you actually look at the meme coin market cap and you get rid of Doge, SHIB, and Flocky, then the whole market cap is like 10 to 12 billion, which is nothing. It is so cheap. There is VC projects that are worth twice that. Just one project, just one VC project. So all of the new memes still, even after the performance that they've had, the new memes, they're still like 10 to 12 billion, which means, and I believe that memes as a whole are going to go to 1 trillion. That's what I believe. And so I think that rotation, and by the way, that rotation is not only financial. It's rotation in terms of money. It's a rotation in terms of attention. It's a rotation in terms of belief. It's a rotation in terms of community and spirit and speculation. I think all of these rotations is happening from alts to memes. And given the fact that new memes are only 10 to 12 billion and the altcoins plus unlocks are 1 trillion, then I think that rotation is very easy for it to happen. And it's definitely going to happen. And I am betting that it's going to continue in 2025.
You mentioned something very interesting before. You were mentioning that whether you go for revenue sharing, whether you go for like to be a meme coin, basically. And so it's just like whether you are like super serious and share your revenue, which is decent, or that doesn't exist and then it's a meme coin, which makes sense because like, I mean, we don't have like a lot of projects that are like useful and that share their revenues. I think a few of them are in town. And I'm expecting a lot from them, to be honest, because that would be like, we could have like so much more potential with revenue sharing. And you mentioned that revenue sharing was not done, not because it's not available because of regulation, but probably because of something else. So what is something else? Is like they don't want to share the cake and keep their labs getting all this money, or like, how do you explain that?
Yeah. So even if, first of all, 99% of altcoins don't make good revenue, right? So they're all meme. They're all meme coins. Now, the 1% that does make revenue, right? It's actually not in their interest, because even the 1% that does make revenue, they don't make a lot of revenue. You know what I mean? Yeah. And a lot of the times, the market caps of these projects, it's much higher than the revenues would justify, which means that in the valuation component, it's probably only 10 to 20% based on the cash flow, and 80% it's mimetic anyway. It's mimetic, it's narrative driven, speculation driven. You know what I mean? Because of this, a lot of projects know this, and they know that if they actually are going to revenue share, then they essentially turn into a stock. Not a stock in a traditional sense, but essentially, we have 400 years of history of how financial markets can price and value cash flow based instruments, right? And if you are going to share your revenue, then your altcoin, investment bankers can now come in, accountants can now come in, and they can value what your proper fair valuation is going to be based on your revenues, right? And nobody wants this because the fair valuation would be much lower than what the mimetic valuation would be, you know? So it's almost in the interest, a lot of these coins, like I'm not going to name names, but there is altcoins. There's many examples, by the way. There's altcoins that are trading between $5 to $9 billion valuation, and they're not going to become money like BTC. Let's be real. And their actual cash flow, no comment. But their actual cash flow is going to be like $1,000 a day or whatever, right? These cash flows, they don't justify $7 billion
definitely.
$7 billion valuations, right? Or whatever it is. And I guess the market values them as like the next Solana or whatever, but they're not even going to be the next Solana. Like, let's be real. They're just going to be a part of a stack. Here's the thing. It's a loose token that is very loosely and indirectly connected to the software that may or may not have some privileges later on, right? But let's be real. Most of that valuation is mimetic, and this is why young people are understanding this and they're moving to memes because they're tired of the bullshit. Because VCs are gonna be dumping on them on centralized exchanges, and VCs are already up 500x, right? The VCs are up 600x. So there's not going to be a community building because any kind of growth, it's going to be people, honest people, genuinely believing this, and VCs are selling. So that's not an honest community, right? The last thing is what tech founders, VCs, what this entire supply chain has been doing for the past 10 years. I call it global IQ arbitrage. They're essentially taking advantage. They're essentially taking advantage of dumb people on chain. That's what's going on. There's no other way to describe it. And finally, it's been 3 cycles, right? It's been 3 cycles. At the risk of sounding crude, even the dumb people have realized the game right now. It's a complete scam. They're tired of the bullshit. And that's why everybody's going to memes, because it's a more honest game.
Yeah, and I do believe that the fairness of the game is changing a bit. When you take a look at Jupiter or Hyperliquid, you've seen something that is very interesting. They have kind of created their meme coins or their memes around their brand and their protocol. They are doing revenues, and they are also getting a game that seems a bit more fair when it comes to the distribution of the token. So Jupiter, I think it's like 50% team, 50% for the people. Basically something like that with the airdrops and everything. Hyperliquid, I would expect it to be, I would say, more like a fair game. So basically, we were not able to find the formula behind the points calculation and everything. And also, I'm expecting like a nice distribution. Are those protocols and brands the ones that are about to win? And also some leaders of the new industry that is ahead of us, you know? So basically, is Hyperliquid and Jupiter the sign of like meme coins affecting the industry standards?
Yes. And actually, to add to your point, I think things like Jupiter, things like Hyperliquid, and the overall meme coin super cycle, one of the underrated things that these things are doing is they're actually moving the whole world on chain. So if you go to theblock.com, they have a famous chart of DEX to SEX volume ratio. And the DEX to SEX volume ratio is now at, I believe, 22, 23%. But it was just 10% a couple of years ago. So Hyperliquid, Jupiter, and the overall meme coin thesis, they are moving more people straight to the chain, straight to Phantom, straight to MetaMask, straight
Which
to
is
like
a great
on-chain.
thing.
Yes, I think it's a very great thing. And it actually making the world a much better place, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think that if you believe into crypto, you believe in like on-chain transactions and using the blockchain and not being just speculating through like centralized exchanges. I mean, you want everything to be aligned with your convictions and your vision of the world. So I was also wondering, like, so how does, I would say, meme coins will affect VC's behavior and tokenomic standards, in your opinion?
Avant de poursuivre cette vidéo, je t'invite tout simplement à rejoindre mon Discord dans lequel tu peux retrouver plus de 10 000 traders actifs. Dans ce Discord, on parle de nombreuses choses, notamment on va tout simplement partager nos analyses, nos graphiques, sur quoi on spécule, les différents airdrops qu'on farm, les news en temps réel qui sont partagées par exemple sur Twitter ou sur différents sites. Enfin bref, c'est vraiment un moyen d'être à jour sur ce qui se passe dans l'écosystème. Et en plus de ça, sur ce Discord-là, je vais partager tout simplement pas mal de données et pas mal de choses que je surveille personnellement, donc des données qui sont importantes à mes yeux et tout simplement moi personnellement ce que je surveille au quotidien. Donc ça permet vraiment d'avoir un suivi en temps réel de moi ce que je regarde et comment je me positionne dans l'écosystème. D'ailleurs, tu peux retrouver mes performances de 2022 et 2023 sur tous les trades que j'ai partagés gratuitement et publiquement. Donc ici, tu as absolument tout le détail avec les positions disponibles de manière transparente, mes positions actives, mon folio, ainsi que tous les trades que personnellement je prends de mon côté avec le suivi de comment je déplace mon stop loss, comment j'ajuste mon risque, comment je me positionne, etc. J'espère que ça vous plaira. Tout est gratuit. Je vous invite à rejoindre. Tout sera en description, en commentaire épinglé. Et maintenant, place à la vidéo.
Well, the way they've been doing business for the past 6 to 8 years, it's not going to work anymore because there's way too many people, way too many tokens, way too many teams, way too many VCs trying to play that book. And it's going to get much more competitive. I think VCs are probably going to lose money, especially on their Series A, Series B investments, because we can see already that a lot of these token launches, they're down only. And a lot of the times the price even goes below the Series A, sometimes even below seed prices. Even VCs. So I think the golden age of the crypto VC was 2016 to 2021. And the golden age of crypto VC is over. Now it's going to be the age of smart retail and the age
liquid
of
markets. And liquid market, because VCs will be able also to participate on the open market. This is what I'm expecting on a lot of protocols. And we mentioned Hyperliquid. They have no VCs. They are not backed in any ways. So maybe this will play out on Hyperliquid. I'm not sure about that. And when it comes to, so VCs, in your opinion, will not exist anymore as they exist right now, or like they will do things differently, or like do you think the funding of projects and VCs as a whole like will decrease in time, or do you think that it will increase and change its behavior?
I think VCs will obviously still stay, but it will be less easy for them to capture those 300x, 500x returns.
Okay. And when it comes to, I would say, token distribution, allocation, and everything, do you think meme coins will have like a big effect on the industry standard right now? Because so far it was like a small allocation for the airdrop, a big allocation for the team, a big allocation for VCs. And then after that, we add like community and growth, which end up being like team tokens deciding like on how to grow the projects or how to pay their friends in some ways. Do you think it will change in any way? And have you seen lately something that is not like a standard meme, even if I know that like you're considering everything as a meme, but like what doesn't look like a meme and has like an interesting distribution in your opinion?
Yeah, so the problem of this industry is that the founders, they started treating the tokens like equity. So they started copying Silicon Valley Web2 model of startup kind of equity distribution. And it obviously doesn't work. The meme coin way of doing things is much fair. 100% of the tokens liquid on day one. Everybody has to pretty much buy in at market. You buy, you leave whenever you want. No unlocks. And I totally agree with you. This current model where insiders, when you combine treasury, foundation, team, VCs, the insiders owning 85% of the supply, it's not going to work. And the problem is that people are realizing that airdrops don't build community. You need the whole journey. You need the whole journey together. That's what builds community. And the entire system, their entire system is crumbling, right? So, and I still think this tech to meme rotation is still early on. And the best memes still have 100x to go.
I wanted to question you about something that is interesting. So I think you have like very interesting thoughts. I think you're a very smart guy. I think you've been kind of like putting words on things that people noticed like along the last few years. But I have to question you about that. Like, why should people not think that your meme coin theory thesis is just a way to promote your own holdings?
Every investor promotes their own holdings. The VCs do the exact same thing on Twitter when they talk about their
but
VC
the impact
coins,
is
right?
way larger on smaller market caps in a way. So like
that's true. That's true. But I simply talk about the things that I genuinely believe are going to outperform in the next 12 to 18 months. And I genuinely believe that as of right now, as of today, your chances of making it with meme coins, they're probably 30, 40% if you invest in the winners with strong communities with momentum. But your chances of making it buying tech coins at $5 billion valuations on Sexes, maybe 1%, right? So I'm telling you where your there's no guarantees, obviously, but I'm telling you your probabilities are higher with meme coins because they're newer, they're fresher, they're cheaper, and even after all of the growth that they had in 2024, they're still very small as a part of a space. So your chances that this is going to grow, like a small thing growing next year that's already been strong this year, the chances of that are high. And history and statistics are on your side. But if the insiders own 85% of a tech project, launch it at 20 billion, launch it on all of the top sectors on day one, that's probably not going to grow. They are probably not going to get rich buying that. I think that's totally reasonable. And I will continue promoting meme coins because, yes, obviously I'm talking my book, but every investor is talking their book. You just still have to assume that every single person on Twitter is talking their book. That's totally reasonable, but you have to use your own logic to see who has a higher chance of being correct about their thesis. And I believe that meme coins are going to outperform altcoins next year by a lot. Simple as that.
And when would you say that your thesis is wrong or invalidated in any ways? Like, how do you think about that? Because when you invest, you know when you are right, but you know also when you are wrong and when to stop and when what you were thinking was not right or not successful or whatever. So is there any elements or things that would make you change your mind about your thesis and your approach of the market?
Yeah. I think if tech coins outperform meme coins for for 6 months straight, then I'm wrong. But if that doesn't happen, then I'm right. Because here's the thing. The reason why people come to crypto is because they know that the economic pressures in the real world are accelerating. Inflation is accelerating. Competition is accelerating. AI is going to accelerate everything, etc. Right? So people come to crypto. They know if you're not already worth $100 million, $300 million, you're probably not going to make it by buying BTC or ETH or whatever. Like they probably have 2x, 3x left this cycle, whatever it is, right? So people, what do you have left? Well, it's great. It's great for some other crypto assets, right? And what do you have? You have the tech coins and you have the meme coins. But as the global system prints more money, what ends up happening is people are going to gradually start caring less about fundamentals, utility, cash flow, and they're going to start caring more about narrative, community, speculation, attention. And as there's more and more money printed, that at the brain chemistry level, at the collective consciousness level, people don't care about these sort of patient long-term projects, which they need to wait for the roadmaps and the execution and all of that to happen. They just go to meme coins, which here's why it's happening, by the way. And we can dive deeper. We can go even deeper. The reason why it's happening is, this is why it's happening, right? Zoomers and millennials, they know that they are fucked pretty much, right? Excuse my French. I mean, but this is what's going on.
It's hard to buy a house. You have to
exactly, right? So your grandpa in the Western world, right? In the Western world, your grandpa in the 1950s, 1960s, he could technically have like a minimum wage job, and somehow he ended up he ended up with a house or an apartment at least. He had a wife. He had 3 kids. Somehow they made it happen, right? But obviously today it's a pipe dream, right? So people come into crypto. And by the way, you know how we discussed that meme coins, they're coming about as like an anti-VC movement, right? My new theory is that it's actually not, anti-VC is just a small part of it. There's a completely different part of this. So Zoomers, they know that they don't have as much money as boomers and Gen Xers. They don't have as much money. They don't have as much status. They don't have as much political power. They don't have as much testosterone. They don't have as much of many things, right?
So they have to gamble.
Well, it goes deeper. It goes even deeper than that. So millennials are realizing, what are we good at? And the one thing that Zoomers are particularly good at is social media. And so my theory is that meme coins, they're coming about emergently because they are financial assets that are optimized to go viral on social media with the hashtags and the cash tags, but most importantly with memes, because memes have become universal language. So if you have these sets of memes and you attach a financial asset to the memes, it can go viral. It can spread much faster, right? So here's the thing. It's an evolution of financial asset classes. In the 1950s, when the S&P 500, all of the stocks, all of the Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett, when all of these things, essentially stocks, right? They started as industrial assets, and you essentially needed, it was a long 20-year process. You needed a factory, you needed employees, you needed the transport, you needed all of this, right? Then what ended up, the next evolution was from boomers to Gen X, it was technology. And the reason why software platforms and VCs, Silicon Valley, they loved funding software projects like Airbnb, which is a platform that owns no houses. Uber, a platform but owns no cars. Obviously, Facebook making massive revenues, right? These things, they only needed software engineers. And because it was software, it could grow its users very, very quickly, right?
And cheaply.
You don't need the factory, you don't need the long supply chains. You could grow very quickly because all that software needs is just downloads, just users, right? But what meme coins do, they take it to the next level, which is we don't even need the software anymore. This is what I call post-software assets, right? It's just based on purely on attention, community, and speculation. And yes, gambling is a small part of it, but my theory is that it's actually more about community than gambling. So this leads me to my next point. In meme coins, there's actually two categories of meme coins. One is like short-term, pump fun, every day, every week, very fast narratives. That's hyper gambling. I agree. But then there's the other, which is actually more similar to BTC. It's more similar to Doge. It's more similar to Link, which is trying to build these long-running community. And that's the part of meme coins that I'm interested in, which is the community building, right? And like I said, the Zoomers, they're essentially building, contributing, and choosing an asset class that's optimized for social media virality because social media is the only thing that they're good at.
And so are you focused on memes that were existing before crypto or you prefer memes that are native to crypto?
Both, because I think there are many ways to skin a cat. No pun intended. Essentially, there's many ways for a meme coin to succeed. So for example, Giga, which is a coin that I like, it is following more like the Doge playbook. It's more following the Doge strategy. Apu, for example, they are following, you could say, the Link strategy in the sense that they have a lot of members from the Link community. They're using a very similar frog. It's a very similar dynamics. SPX 6900, which is another meme that I really like, is following something completely different. It's something completely new that is crypto native, right? So I think there's many different ways for these things to succeed. The thing that matters the most is the people, right? I always say when you are buying meme coins, you're not investing in the meme. You're actually investing in the people. So that's what's most important. It doesn't matter whether the meme came from before crypto. Yeah.
This is what I like the most. Sorry to interrupt you, but this is what I like the most from what you said publicly is that meme coins are like kind of tokenized communities. So
yes.
Just like tech altcoins like most of the time. And so this is a way to represent the community. And if you're bullish on it, then the price should appreciate, hopefully.
Exactly. And you're exactly right. Tech altcoins are tokenized communities as well.
And meme coins is all about that in some ways. Pudgy Penguins is also the same thing. NFTs have been even way more deeper like into this approach, I would say.
Yes, for sure. And I actually believe that meme coins, they have a similar thesis to NFTs. They're both tokenized communities, and tech alts are tokenized communities as well. But the thing about tech alts, for example, tech alts versus meme coins, we've already discussed. Like meme coins, much lower friction, right? Also, meme coins much easier to spread. Next year, you're going to see them all over TikTok, Instagram, Reddit, 4chan. They're going to be everywhere, right? But tech alts at this stage, if someone new comes, you're like, oh, there's like this restaking of the liquid derivative restaking. All that you have to know. You have to know all this shit, right? But with memes, it's simple. You know the meme, okay, I'm buying. You know, with NFTs, the problem is a successful NFT. The success becomes kind of its own problem because the high floor price, it becomes difficult for low income and middle income people to buy. And usually, in a successful NFT collection, what ends up happening is you have 3,000 holders, essentially evangelizing 10,000 illiquid JPEGs. But with meme coins, what you're going to have is much better on both sides of the equation. You're going to have 1 million holders evangelizing one single liquid coin. And you can already sense how much more effective and efficient that is. Yeah. And there's no like price floor, price limit that keeps it like as a private club. It's going to be global. So it's a similar thesis, but the financial instrument by which it's expressed in meme coins is much more effective.
And are you not worried in some ways of like the funding decreasing for innovative or useful projects in any ways? Because like so far, like I would say VCs have been able to fund like interesting projects, protocols, whatever, and also help to get the technology ahead, like make innovations on this side. So do you think like meme coins can have like I would say bad effects on the industry at the end of the day on the long run? I would say.
No, I don't think so, because I actually think meme coins, they are purifying the space, right? Some people, I believe, mistakenly think that meme coins represent degeneracy. I actually think that meme coins represent purification, because what meme coins do is they pop the altcoin bubble and they take that community energy, speculation energy, narrative energy, belief energy. They take that away from altcoins. So now altcoins will actually need to make money, solve real problems, have real narratives, have real important use cases. So it's actually good because it will encourage more people to be like Hyperliquid or to be like other successful projects, or they will encourage altcoins to start at much lower valuations. And either of these things is very good in my opinion. So I actually think meme coins, they act as a purification mechanism.
Understood. Very interesting. I wanted to know if you were aware of like very interesting critiques you received regarding your thesis. Like, have you received like very interesting critiques from people that may change your mind on some aspects or help you building your own thesis and in its evolution?
I've definitely received some criticism, but I think ever since I started talking about my thesis, and frankly, even before I started talking about my thesis, the market caps, like meme coins, were already outperforming everything 6 months before I started and 6 months after I started, which means that the market is in agreement with me, which means that the words that I'm saying, they are resonating with people. That means that there is some element of truth to what I'm saying. And meme coins outperforming altcoins, it's essentially the market starting to confirm my thesis. And like I said, I think this rotation still have another 100x to go. I still think we're early. Just because you and I talk about this a lot doesn't mean that we're late. Just because we're bored of talking about it doesn't mean that we're late. Because here's the thing, 99.999% of the world and institutions is still not in memes, which means that there's still so much money that's yet to come. And my prediction is that meme coins are going to become a legitimate asset class.
I was more wondering, like, if you receive messages that change your mind on some aspect of your thesis, you know, like you heard that and you say, oh, that's right. Like, I didn't thought this way, you know, and that maybe had some impact on your way of thinking about the industry. I know it's tough.
I mean, okay, no. Here's the thing. I definitely received criticism and pushback. And of course, you know, everybody has an opinion, but my time frame is 1 to 2 years. I'm not trying to predict what's going to happen 10 years from now. My time frame is 1 to 2 years. And as far as 1.5 years are concerned, I am confident in my thesis and I'm sticking to my thesis.
Ok, cette vidéo vous est présentée en partenariat avec DYDX. DYDX est la solution décentralisée qui vous permet de trader les principales crypto-monnaies de manière liquide sur mobile et ordinateur. Contrairement à la majorité des exchanges, vous n'avez pas besoin de vous KYC et vous récupérez la majorité des frais que vous payez. Plus de 60 000 personnes utilisent déjà DYDX et j'en fais partie, alors qu'attendez-vous? Scannez le QR code sur votre écran ou utilisez le lien dans la description pour créer votre compte avec un simple wallet et profitez de 5% de réduction sur vos frais. Allez, on repart sur l'interview.
I took a lot of your time, but I wanted maybe to finish to talk about your portfolio and your strategies to getting or get out and everything, because I think to me this is very important, because we're talking about meme coins, but if we are investors, we have to time our entries, we have to time our exits, we have to think about this before doing it. And so I was wondering, like, when it comes to your portfolio, like how are your investments allocated? Are they fully into meme coins? Are you also invested in other categories in crypto or outside of crypto? Like, how do you manage your money, basically?
I only have BTC and cult memes, nothing else.
Okay. And I wanted to know, like, how transparent are you about your holdings and position changes and everything? Because I think some of your wallets became public at a point because of ZachXBT. Like how bad is it? Does it change anything to you? Because at the end of the day, the thing I was worried about, and I guess like a lot of people are worried about, is that, okay, Murad is pretty right. Let's go in. And like in 3 months, 6 months or whatever, like I see Murad selling and affecting a lot the market because like people are like believing in you, believing in your thesis. And then we would notice on chain that you're like, I don't know, selling or making transactions that could nuke the market. I mean, from my perspective, on some altcoins, on some meme coins that you're like, kind of like, mentioning, this is a decent risk I was thinking about. So what are your views on that?
Yeah. So, the doxing of my wallets didn't change anything because a bunch of people already had my wallets. And actually what I would say is my wallets, actually confirm everything that I've ever said on Twitter. And you can go back to all of my tweets and they will be fully aligned with my own portfolio. Most importantly, my wallets show that I have never sold any of my meme coins or any of the meme coins I've called. I've only ever bought and I've never sold, right? And I think
this is a great level of conviction. Like, to be honest, bro, yes. I'm very impressed.
And also I've been on a bunch of podcasts and I've been very transparent about my take profit strategy. I'm going to take profit on 60 to 70% of my positions in Q4 of 2025 to Q1 of 2026, right? And until then, I intend to hold.
No matter what happened.
Well, it depends on macro factors, of course. That's why I give like a time range. But essentially, when I think it's like the top of the global top of the cycle, I'm going to take profit on 60 to 70% of my positions and just going to hold the rest.
Okay. And so how did you end up to think that you should exit the market like Q4 2025, Q1 2026? Is it about like the timing of the cycles, like in general in crypto? Is it about like what you see from like the TradFi stuff? How do you think about it?
Yeah. So it's just based on if we go with the basic assumption that this cycle is also going to be a 4-year cycle, just like the others, and the others have been almost exactly day to day 4 years. So if it happens again, we're looking at November, December 2025. Of course, sometimes it happens that like the last wave is longer. Again, it depends on TradFi. So I'm going to be tracking the traditional stock market, interest rates, obviously the global money supply, other things like that. But that's like loosely the plan. And then I'm going to obviously move slow in that sort of time frame.
And so when you get in, are you doing DCA? Are you buying all at once? Like, how does it work on your side?
I usually DCA over 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay, clear to me. Maybe to finish this interview, I was wondering, what are your views on like other ways to speculate on the meme coin? I would say bullishness. So, for example, like we've seen some, I would say meme coin infrastructure getting bigger and bigger. I think Jupiter is part of that. I think Aerodrome is part of that. I think Radium is part of that. Like, do you hold any of these, or is it like just like beta that will underperform at the end of the cycle, in your opinion? Like, how do you envision it?
Yeah. So meme coin infrastructure related altcoins, I think they will do well. I think they will do well this cycle because they kind of combine the tech and the meme narrative. So they're somewhere in the middle. And the more sort of serious investors that don't only want to invest in the tech without investing in the memes themselves, they're going to be buying that. But I think the meme coins are going to outperform that. So that's my logic. And that's why on the meme coin side, I'm just fully invested into the meme coins themselves.
And you're building yourself some infrastructure with STFX.
Yes.
Can you talk about it? Because I know you seems like someone that doesn't really want to promote like what you're doing like on podcasts, like when it comes to STFX. But to me, this is interesting. So maybe you want to speak a few words about it?
Yes. So STFX, it's a SocialFi protocol. We originally launched on Arbitrum. We are currently moving to Solana. There's many use cases. You can create vaults, which are essentially packaged trades. So instead of it being a portfolio that you're managing, you can essentially tokenize trades, and you can build a profile based on your wins and losses. You can raise money from other people. You can have people sort of point certain capital to always be invested in all your trades in an automated manner. And of course, the manager, they get to take 10 to 20% of the profits as well, right? Whenever they make money. So it's essentially, you can call it a copy trading platform, but it is a bit more complicated than that. But ultimately, we are currently moving from Arbitrum to Solana, and I'm very excited about this transition because it's going to be much more faster paced, much cheaper, and you'll be able to move like much faster with your coins, with your and with your behavior. And it's going to, because most of the meme coin activity is on Solana right now, it's also going to position our SocialFi protocol more along the meme coin wave as well.
So it's kind of a mix of Photon and I would say more centralized exchanges, copy trading style, right?
It's a mix of those things, yes.
This is very interesting. And do you have any opinions on what Pump.Fun or Photon are doing? Like if it's great, if you're like seeing some improvements and room to grow on some specific sides because they are so related to meme coins. I guess you have like some opinions on what they are doing, or at least on what they could become.
Yeah, so I think PumpFun is PumpFun, Photon, and others are going to continue to be popular for the rest of the cycle because a lot of people do want to hyper gamble. A lot of people do want to bet on new launches. To be frank, that's not the area of meme coins that I'm interested in. I'm interested in finding the next Doge, right? So that's where most of my efforts are going. Yes, but I think there's clear heuristics, there's clear methods of identifying which communities are the strongest or growing the fastest. But personally, in terms of lifestyle, I don't want to gamble all day. I would rather believe in something, right?
Yeah. Thank you very much for your time, Murad. It's been awesome. To be honest, it's been a long time. I haven't been like such dynamic guest on the podcast. So this is very much appreciated. Maybe do you want to say a few words to the French-speaking community about what you're doing, where they can follow you, or any thoughts, general thoughts about the world or of the crypto industry?
Yeah. So you can follow me at MustStopMurad on Twitter. I usually talk about meme coins every day. And the most important thing for you to know is that 6,900 is bigger than 500, and to stop trading and believe in something.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Murad. Links will be in the description so people can understand what you're doing, all the thesis and everything. I haven't mentioned like some specific topics because they've been mentioned so many times in podcasts. So I encourage people to watch it if they want to learn more. And yeah, wish you the best for the rest of the cycle. Thank you, Murad.
Appreciate it. Thank you, man.